Aloha, Shakti Shiva Tarot. Aloha Friday. Yeah, let's get into the read. So I was pre-shuffling and then I was like thinking of things and I'm like, you know what, let me shuffle and speak of what is on my mind. And it's funny, air element, communicating. Someone will be communicating with you. And the crazy part is what I was thinking about is about communication. I'm not surprised. I mean, like, I still get surprised. I do, but I'm not surprised to see that. Because, like I said, what was on my mind was communication and Mars force. So maybe for some of you, you have a Mars air sign. I do. My Mars is in Libra. Mars is all about force, passion. Mars is the god of war. Air signs are all about communication and like intelligence, logic. So part of my thought process as I was pre-shuffling was, solar eclipse revolution. 44. We have 5 and 39 on the deck. So part of my process, I'm sorry, I know I take forever. My brain goes do 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 do. Okay. Part of my thought process while I was shuffling is the fact that today is the 23rd, which Mercury is moving direct. Right? So Mercury retrograde, what happens is the Mercury is the planet of communication. Mercury goes through each planet to communicate shit, okay? Mercury is the planet of communication. That's why when Mercury goes retrograde, it stops moving. It appears to be moving backward, but it's just stationary. It's not moving. While everything else continues to spin and turn, Mercury stays here. And since Mercury is the planet of communication that goes around each planet to communicate and to receive, right? Receive this frequency of communication, like what's going on in the cosmos. When it stops, that's why communication between humans and even our thought processes and our own communication trying to get it out becomes like delayed and halted. Now, granted, wow. Retrograde. Review. It is a time of review. Yes, it's a time of reflection. And I feel like I just missed the 11:11. Like, did I start this at 11:11? What the heck? Wow. Okay, it's 11:13 right now, and I'm going to check the time when I think this. But anyways, root, I see conjunction, alliance, first house, arrival. Something is arriving. Wow. 38, 39, 51. So we have 39 on the table twice. Something is arriving, and this is in relation to like the self, but also in connection with your roots. The conjunction is like two planetary beings coming together and like being aligned. There's an alliance happening here. Interesting. So for some of you, maybe your Mars. Anyways, my thought process, I'm so sorry. Like I said, I go woo to come back. Mercury retrograde. I mean, I should have kept it, but I kept shuffling, but we saw it. Mercury retrograde. Wow. We have, I'll get to it, I promise. We have the 4th house and the 5th house at the bottom of the deck, and this one just flew out and uncovered the beloved Venus card. Beloved Venus, home with the beloved, family, creation with the beloved. Heavy Leo on the table because underneath that is Leo. So During Mercury retrograde, communication may have come to a complete halt with you and your person, with you and your other, right? If that happened, it potentially brought things up, right, to the surface for you, right? There was, maybe you were battling with yourself, battling with your own mind, wanting to have all these conversations and thinking of all these things that you needed to say, but like they just, because of Mercury retrograde, this is one of the heaviest Mercury retrogrades we've ever experienced because of the other planetary things that were happening. But yeah, why do I feel like it made you, did you cry a lot during this Mercury retrograde? Were you like feeling completely lost and alone, feeling like you were out in the desert or in the middle of the forest by yourself, like feeling like, when that saying, can't see the forest for the trees, crying, but also the potential of just like clearing your vessel, or maybe you need to do that. Maybe the lack of crying was causing poison in your vessel. The lack of communication was making you sick. Lack of expressing your emotions making you sick, because when you hold on to all that stuff and it doesn't move, it creates illnesses in the physical vessel. Something about the physical vessel. Maybe for some of you, you're trying to conceive, or you're having body issues and you're crying over your body issues, and God is trying to like show you how to love your body and accept yourself as you are, because if you don't, then who will? There's a lot of that going on. But then also, like I said, there was conversations that were coming up in your mind during this Mercury retrograde that maybe never actually came out of your mouth, right? And a lot of things may have come up during this Mercury retrograde, and maybe you worked through some of it. But right now, as Mercury retrograde is going direct, as Mercury is going direct right now, even though we're still going to have a post shadow period where we can still reflect and review, the conversations that have remained heavy on our chest, some of these conversations that we had during the retrograde disappeared because we worked them out in our own minds and we realized it's our own thing, right? But then there's still probably some things, some conversations, some questions still heavy on your heart, and those are the conversations that need to be had. And I feel like between now and the next 2 weeks, they're potentially coming up on the table, or they need to. They're being asked to be expressed. It says 1-1, the chosen one, 8-8, queen. We have fast track to ascension, divine feminine, and we have voyager's journey, 2-2, past life healing. So you are with the chosen one. You are with the one who is going to fast track your ascension. It's not going to be pretty. It's not going to be easy. There's going to be a lot of things that come up, triggered, to be released, to be rewritten, to be let go of, to be reconstructed, reviewed. Divine feminine, I see the chessboard with the chess pieces here, and she's kind of, her dress, she looks kind of like the Queen of Hearts. So I feel like the Alice and the Queen of Hearts, off with their head, that whole scene where they're playing, like, whatever, you know what I'm talking about. But with the chess pieces here, I also see peacock feathers. So maybe peacock feathers are some, there's a peacock here, symbolizing that divine masculine energy, but also like that peacocking energy, like look at me, or that need to maybe put yourself out there, but also that creative energy reminds me of Saraswati. But the Queen of Hearts, the queen, the chessboard. The queen is the most important piece of the chess. She protects the king. Without the queen, the king is unprotected. So even though, yes, the game is to protect the king, and the king is very important, the queen is even more important because she protects the king. And her job on the chessboard is to protect the king. So in the spiritual world, I feel like it's very, very similar. And it's also, I keep on being shown the visual of Sparta. And, our whole vision of like the divine feminine, and where her role plays in life has been distorted because of the matrix, right? The 3D, the powers that be, the ones at the hierarchy, you know, at the top of, anyways, you know what I'm talking about. If you know, you know. I'm not gonna go down that rabbit hole because I could be here for days. The queen in Sparta, and back in those days, I keep on being shown the vision of when in Sparta 300, when the guy comes with like I forget his name, but you know, pretty much saying, hey, like you come with us and you allow us to take over your kingdom, or we're going to go to war. Like, it's like, you know, you bow to us and you bow to my king, or we're going to war. And he was having a conversation with the dude in front of the big pit or whatever. And the king, before he makes his decision, he stops and he looks at the queen, and the queen gives the nod, the okay. And then he turns around and kicks that motherfucker, and, you know, like pretty much saying like, no, we are not bowing, right? But my point is that even though he was the one there up front and center, you know, leading the pack, being the king, being in that dominant alpha role, he still looked for the approval of his queen. Why? Not because she forced it, but because that was the respect that king had for the divine feminine. And I feel like that respect over time has been lost, because later on in the stages, kings became very promiscuous and they treated their queen with such disrespect. And I feel like this is bringing that respect back to the queen. Why? Because she is very important. She protects the king. And so, yeah, And so maybe there is past life healing because of that, right? There is this dynamic where maybe you and your divine masculine have many lifetimes together and have experienced many lifetimes together, and you come back with these impressions on your soul. And so for some of you, part of this awakening, this fast track to ascension, is awakening those old aspects from those old timelines that disrespected the divine feminine, right? So let's say in a past life, you and your divine counterpart were a king and a queen, but a king and a queen that was very toxic. The king was, you know, had his mistresses and was very disrespectful to the queen. Well, we come into this lifetime to heal those past life karmas. We are here to heal that disrespect. So maybe this divine masculine comes in still with that disrespectful energy, with that betraying energy, with that deception energy of having, you know, feeling like, yo soy el que mando aquí. How do you say? Like, I'm the one that freaking, yo soy la que mando. Like, I'm the one who freaking, oh my God, I can't think of it in English. Like, I'm the boss here, and, you know, if I want to have a mistress or two or three, then you ain't going to say shit about it. You know, that's like this king energy that I'm feeling, this energy that needs to be healed. And they could have come in with this energy, but you're this queen and you're like, well, no, pues no, aquí no, señor. And you're like, I don't care if you're my twin, if you're my long lost lover from many lifetimes, pues no, you know, in this lifetime that needs to be healed, because that is an aspect that is causing the ascension of our evolution of our soul to be delayed. Okay, so the masks are dropping. Those that have been wearing that mask are learning. Wow, okay. Wow, I pulled out this deck because I was feeling drawn to a new deck. Strength. Page of Pentacles. There's an apology. Somebody is gathering the strength to apologize to you. This is somebody who realizes that they used their strength and their power and their ability to, it's like they knew how vulnerable you were with them, how much you cared, how much you loved them, and they took that and they took it for granted. They took advantage of your love. They took advantage of the strength of your love. And so now I feel like this person is being faced with this truth. Heavy Leo on the table. Heavy, heavy Leo. This person was definitely someone who was in and out, promiscuous energy, used a lot of their Mars and sexual energy to get what they wanted. And you were just there, I feel like, very receptive, very, very open, very devoted, because you knew the depth of this soul bond, of this love. But like I said, just because there is that depth doesn't mean that we should allow ourselves to abandon our truth, right? So part of your, I feel like your divine feminine, was screaming inside of you, asking you to set boundaries, because you are not an option. You are meant to be fought after. The divine masculine, if the divine masculine isn't fighting for your love, then choose wisely, because there is a divine masculine out there. Look at the King of Pentacles. He came out in yesterday's read too. That wants to provide and be your stable foundation and be your safe haven, is what I just heard. This is somebody who's been manifesting you. A divine masculine that is manifesting commitment, loyalty. This divine masculine has all the tools, the courage. If this is a past person coming in with an apology, they're going to apologize for making you feel like an option. Wow, look at that, the sun. Yes. This divine masculine on the table. Now, so for those of you who don't want someone from your past, this might not be your reading. But this is definitely somebody who's coming in with an apology. They see now, like I said, this is heavy past life energy with the sun here. To this person, you are the sun. That is very much being illuminated. Why? Because they were in the dark. And the only thing that kept them alive is what I heard. And, for some of them it's metaphorically, maybe for others it's not. Was thinking of you. You were that light in their darkness that kept them from going into full darkness, is what I just heard. That strength is because of you. Wow. That is beautiful. All right. Wow. Someone's ready to apologize for breaking your heart, for causing you pain, for causing you suffering, for making you feel like you didn't matter. You see this? Someone betrayed the connection, stabbed you in the back, left you for dead, metaphorically. This is every single thing that you can think of. Deception, betrayal, abandonment. This person now wants to work on this connection. This is somebody who's working really hard on themselves to be able to bring balance to this connection. Like I said, for those of you watching that are like, no, I don't want this person back, this isn't your reading. Because this is a very specific person that you feel this deep soul bond to, but there needs to be a deep heart-to-heart conversation. You cannot pretend anymore. You cannot numb anymore. You cannot deny anymore that there's a deep soul bond here, and that you've had many, many past lives together, and that you want to build a future with this person. But it needs to start with words, choosing each other and choosing love. Ask your yes or no question. That is a no. Not a strong no, but it's a no.